We're good? Good. Rolling. Welcome back to episode 35, everybody. My name is Jonathan.
And my name is Stephanie. I'm not just Jonathan's wife.
Yes. We are commonly known as the Walker family, even though that isn't our last name. But thank you guys for joining us on this longer form of content. We've been on this journey now for just over 4 years when we moved our family from Canada to Fiji just before lockdowns, and to pursue our dreams of business and to create employment opportunities in my home in Fiji. And so my wife Stephanie is from British Columbia
in Canada.
Beautiful, beautiful Canada. And so that's a bit of a summary if for those of you who are just watching this for the first time and most of you aren't, but
yeah, and John's
someone out there, they always say that you should create content as if nobody knows. So
yeah,
that's
and
what
John's
I just did.
half Fiji, half Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
embrace
better
it.
half Fiji.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. How about what has been, to touch on what's been going on recently, the military has been like stomping around in the area. Like,
yeah,
so
they've been
this is not normal.
Around our village. They did come and get approval. That's what you told me.
Yeah, they came and talked to the village headman or the Turani Koro in our village. So that's pretty normal in Fiji. Like when people want to come and do stuff on a piece of land, like they go talk to the landowning unit. And so they did, but it's just been weird to be on the farm and like you see these guys like creeping around in the grass, like
yeah,
with,
and
like, headgear on
gunshots
and
going off everywhere.
full sniper, or like not sniper, but like they're like all like they have grass like glued to their body,
and
or
you
something.
can see like trails of them in the high grass.
Oh, yeah.
And like this morning, one of the military medical units pulled over, and they're like shocked to see us. We're out for a morning walk, and they came and took a photo with us.
Yeah, because like to be clear, there's
It's funny.
there's a lot of islands in Fiji. It's like 148. How many islands are in Fiji, too? You don't know?
You don't know.
Okay.
A lot.
100. I want to say 148, but I could be way off on that. He's gonna find out for us. And so there's really like two main islands, and so most of these people, I believe, are from like the main island, the big island, and so they're over here, and a lot of you guys like follow us from the big island, from Viti Levu, and so where me and Stephanie go for a morning walk, and like this like military ambulance like drives up, and like, and I just see these two guys jump. How many? I was about halfway
you
there.
were so off. 300 and what?
Well, I didn't want to say 300 because I was going to be like,
I
way out
knew
to
there
lunch.
was like 300 and you were like 100 something. I'm
Yeah,
like, you
I think it's like
off.
148 inhabited, maybe, is what it might be.
332 islands, 110
inhabited.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
So I know lots about geography.
Don't worry, you know more than I do. Someone the other day was like, "Oh, where do you live in Canada from Vancouver? Is it north, south?" And I was like, "Don't ask me that. I don't really know. I'm in the interior." That's what we say.
Stephanie, but it doesn't get any more west than Vancouver.
I-
West is left.
Okay. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look at a map, west is left.
I know when I was a kid, I lived up north, but I don't really know what Kelowna is considered.
Wow.
I just don't.
Yeah,
No,
so that's
not
been really weird. Anyways, to finish that story, it's been weird that the military's just been like romping around shooting blanks. I hope they're shooting blanks, but I don't know.
Right?
I did hear a guy say, "Man down, man down." He's bleeding out.
And then poor Croy's on the farm up on the water tank. People are just friggin'. And he's like, ah!
Oh yeah, it was crazy because the first bullet I heard, and to finish the story, these guys jump out of the ambulance and they're like, "What? Can we take a picture with you guys?" We're like, "What?" We're just on our morning walk. Like Steph's like half asleep. And
yeah, I have
they're
my
like,
sunnies on. I'm like, I can't even see. I don't even
So that was
look
cool,
at the
though.
sunshine until like 9 a.m.
Can't say I've
Don't
ever
give me
taken a
that.
picture with people on this road before.
Yeah,
This is pretty
I
funny.
think they were like
I love it.
this like imaginary couple that's on social media, and then they were just like actually in reality, and they're like,
Out
she's
in the
really
bush,
wearing
eh?
a Sulu, and he's really got a dog, and
Yeah.
that's what I felt like, and I was like, I looked haggard. I did not brush my hair on our morning walks. I just roll out of bed. I some days brush my teeth, and then John's like, it's 6:30, and I'm like,
Oh, they're dragon breath.
and I put my sunglasses on, and I just like, don't look at my face. And then these guys roll up like, let's take a photo, and I'm like, I haven't even looked in a mirror today, and yet this is gonna be online, and I probably look relatively similar every day. but it's just not that comforting when you haven't even glanced in a mirror yet. So,
Do you think your standards have dropped?
oh,
Like beauty standards?
I have zero standards. I have lost all standards.
Really?
I think when you sweat this much, you can't care. Even today, I was thinking like, oh my gosh, I've really let myself go. I wonder if I should try and start putting makeup on every day and like doing my hair. And then this afternoon, I started trying to do my hair without like a blow dryer and a curling iron and all like the things that I would normally use to try and look like a human being. And I just gave up because I have just like a frizz bomb on top of my head. And that is why I am bun head lady permanently.
Yeah, you do rock a solid bun.
I rock a solid bun head because I don't know what else to do.
The bun is baked onto your head.
Yeah, well,
If we're using,
it's either like
bakery
shave it all off or have a bun head. And I've decided I'm not a cute
Oh,
bald.
you'd be so sexy shaved.
You love the idea of a sexy bald person, but my face is way too
I love the
round for
idea of you
that.
shaved down.
I love the idea of you shaved down.
Like,
Let's start there.
We're talking about our heads, all right? Yeah,
Sure are.
there we are.
Yeah. So buzzer off, baby.
Ooh, dude, my big noggin, like shiny. You imagine these lights right now? It would be like,
Dude, if
could
I could,
key light you
if
right
I
now.
was really skinny and had like a really good like jawline, I would rock bald all day.
Dude, let's just jump on some
No.
Ozempic.
I would right now at this moment in my life. Ozempic would be my best friend.
Okay, yeah, so would I.
Okay. No, you don't need it. But I feel like Fiji is just like so hard to not be stationary.
What does Ozempic actually develop for?
Diabetes.
Diabetes? I was going to
Yeah.
say diabetes. So, like, maybe Fiji could use... Wow. Okay. Do not take our advice, number one. There's
Yeah.
probably going to be a
Don't
lot of
listen
people...
to John because John is just talking.
There's going to be a lot of people
nonsense.
dying. Or, like, there's got to be serious repercussions for Ozempic.
For sure.
But I don't know if there is any, like, big main, like, lawsuits out right now. I just know a lot of people in Canada and the U.S. that are on Ozempic.
Yeah.
It's very common.
I'm going to be honest. If it was
Pretty
just,
sure that's why Oprah has to get out of Weight Watchers.
Yeah,
because
because
she
she's on
was
Ozempic.
on
And
Ozempic.
she's, yeah,
Yeah. She's bodied up.
it is what it is. I
Yeah.
don't know. You know what? That's the hard thing about like weight loss is like you actually have to put in so much effort. And even today, I did like 5 push-ups, like 5 really good form push-ups. And I am medically not allowed to like push my body really hard after having kids. I
The
have
uterus almost fell out.
yeah, I have some issues.
No, today, I mean.
Today? No, it didn't. But
After the 5th push-up.
I did like 5 push-ups because I want to like build my way up to being able to do like a good, well-formed, solid 10 over the next few months. Like I just want to start slowly, and I did 5.
It's only 5 more.
Well, I know, but like,
You just hit that tomorrow.
I did 5, and my whole body was just like
Trembling?
Yeah.
Oh.
And-
Trembling or like, don't?
Yeah, like because I have this uterus issue.
Mm.
I just know like if I get too tired, my organs will start falling out of my body, so I have to be a little bit careful. But I did 5, and then I went, yeah, it's kind of pushing it for me, so I'm just gonna do 5 consistently for a couple of months, and then start doing like 6, and then start doing 7.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm just gonna slowly build up. That's why we're going for walks in the morning. And John and I have an agreement that he'll just like be chill, because John is not a chill person.
I've been doing pretty good, right?
Yeah, but like when we were younger, John and I used to go like walks or jogs or whatever, and then I'd be like jogging, and I'm a slow runner. I don't have long legs. My run is kind of like John's like
Walk.
trudge or walk, and John started like running backwards and like hopping on one foot.
That was annoying.
You were very annoying,
Super
honey.
annoying.
And I could have slapped you in that moment. So I'm like, and do you know what the funny thing is? I took a running class in high school for 2 years. I never got better. I did the first year. We did the first route. They
Yeah, the
time you.
thing-
No, but they time you. Excuse me. Rude. I am speaking. And
No,
they
I disagree.
time you, and then you disagree.
I
And then
disagree.
at the end of the year, you do the run again.
I don't
They time
believe
you,
you.
and I never got better.
I don't believe that.
I
That's
did.
why I'm
I did it for
interrupting
2 years.
you. Yeah.
Some
But your
peop-
cardiovascular system was probably a lot healthier. I bet your muscles were a lot more like...
Probably, but was
Prime
I
for
ever
endurance.
faster? No.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is that like your muscles were tuned up. You were in shape.
Okay, but
you
this one
felt
time,
good.
my eyeballs. There's this very overweight girl in my running class.
Right.
She was always ahead of me. And when I was young, I looked really fit, okay? I looked skinny. I didn't have an ounce of fat on my body. It looked like I should be able to beat her. I could never beat her. So one day in my mind, I was like, I'm going to beat this chick. She keeps beating me, and it was making me angry. And I ran so hard because she was behind me the entire time that I vomited for half an hour when I got back to the school.
That's what you get.
Just because I wanted to beat her. I was like, she was just on my tail. And then I got back and I ran so hard. I just couldn't stop puking when I got back. And it was just like, after that, I was like, never again. I'll just let her win. I just needed to prove.
You have this story about like this girl's like, you're fat. And you're like, you're ugly.
Oh,
maybe we shouldn't talk about that.
well, I was a little vicious when I was young, but like I just hated the haters.
Girls are brutal though.
Girls are
Dude,
mean,
we were
and I was
chilling
not
when we were
fat. I was
guys.
very fit as a young person, and this girl came up to me in high school, and she said, "Oh, honey, what did she say? Oh, you're so fat."
Wow, who says that?
And I was like, "Oh, well, if I'm fat, that's okay. You're ugly. At least I can diet."
Oh.
And then, and then she ran away. That's pretty mean. Don't use that one. But I just was like, I don't know. And it didn't even bother me because I was so mean back to her. I actually felt way worse about what I said to her. She was a beautiful girl. She did not need any change.
Just a lot of untrue statements said in that moment.
Yeah,
like
it
you
was
were
just-
not ugly.
It
when
was
you
just
were
like
young?
mean versus mean. And I was,
Or you were not fat and she was not ugly.
she was not ugly, but I was more vicious than she was. And I was just not
Do you
willing.
know her? Do you remember her name?
Destiny. That was her name. It's true. I knew it
That
off.
can't
the
be her real
tip
name.
of- it
That's
was.
like, or she's known as like that's her street name, right?
No, that was her real name, honey. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, she was not a nice girl. I think a lot of people experience that in high school, though. I think, or even in middle school, they experience people that are insecure with themselves and come to get you. And I think, like, I didn't handle it well, but my theory was if I rip you apart, I will not feel ripped apart, which I don't think is a very loving stance.
Maybe
But-
teenage girls. I don't know. Maybe if is Fiji the same? You think like teenage girls like they can be brutal to each other? Yeah. Okay.
Of course.
So like, if there's one thing that you could change about your teenage years, what would it be?
Well, off of that one, I would say just be a little bit kinder. I was never the first to strike. I will say that. But I would definitely give it back ruthlessly. If you came for me, I would come for you tenfold.
Yeah.
I was not.
Yeah, you are ruthless. But you're still
yeah.
ruthless.
I'm still ruthless, but I try to be nicer.
Maybe you should work on that. Maybe.
I have. And this is the outcome, honey. So,
Okay.
but yeah, in high school, I just had no mercy for people that were vicious to me because I just felt like, I had friends that were very soft-spoken. And I just thought, you know what? If you come for me, I'm going to get you because I don't want you coming for my friends. And I think for me, I just felt like that was a way to be like, you don't mess with me because you don't mess with them.
Yeah, well, that's like your number one thing is like loyalty.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think like that's just kind of why I was vicious because I just felt like some of my friends could not do that from themselves. Like they would just kind of like die over that.
Right.
And me, I was like, I don't really care. You can say whatever you want to me, but I will bite back. And I don't think that was maybe like the stance that Jesus would want us to take, but it was a stance that I made in the moment. I think like maturity comes with, if someone said that to me now, I would just kind of laugh and be like, wow, they must be having a bad day.
So you just be kinder?
I think so. Or just like more gracious with people and not worry about it because you're in high school. But I think in the moment you feel like it's like life or death. Like,
Did you enjoy your teenage years?
I love my teenage years.
Or were you like, oh, I just can't wait to like move out. I just can't
No,
wait to.
I loved it.
Yeah?
I had a great like childhood. I had a good teenage youth moment. My parents were very like, if we trust you, you can have all the freedom you want. If we don't trust you, you're pretty much in jail. So I kept a very good like trust profile with my mom and dad because I wanted to be able to do whatever I felt like doing.
Me too.
Yeah, how was that for you?
No, my parents were just a lot more. And I think actually, maybe it's something to do with the prairies. So Stephanie grew up on the west coast of Canada. When I was in Canada, I grew up in like central, I guess. Still western, but central Canada.
But more
Farm town.
conservative Canada.
Yeah, so like even my parents were a lot more conservative growing up as far as like it wasn't like if we trust you, you could just do whatever you want. Like every time I had to or wanted to like go hang out with my friends, like it was like, oh, I hope they say yes. And like a
Which is
lot of times they'd
wild.
say no because like your history is that like your parents are just like, yeah, of course. Like or like yeah,
Well, my parents were like, if I trust
the
your
friend.
friend's parents,
Yeah.
then like, why not?
The
Why
thing
does
is,
it
it was
matter?
always like I just like remember it being like after church and like one of my friends was like the pastor's son. Another one was basically a pastor's son,
Yeah,
and we're just like,
you
there
had
might have been
really good
some, but like
friends.
parents like they know something that you don't know most of the time.
Yeah,
I was just like always like, I didn't. I just feel like they're gonna say no.
my parents had like a rule in our house, kind of like, if whoever wants to be over at our place, it's kind of a free for all. You can be at our house doing whatever. And then when we wanted to be at other people's house, I'd like specific people that I could go have sleepovers. So it was probably like one or two people. It was not a broad
Yeah,
spectrum thing, but I knew who those people were. I knew like my one friend Jess, if I wanted to go to her house on Sunday or whatever Saturday, it wasn't so much up to like, oh, can I? It was more so like, how are you getting home? Because they lived 45 minutes out of town.
mm.
So it's more of like the transport arrangement that we had to work out more than anything. But my parents were kind of, they were relaxed. I think because they had quite like they had a lot of freedom, I think, in their youth. And so we had a lot more parameters than they did, I think, in their youth. But I think when you live like a life where you have a lot of freedom and your parents give you a lot of freedom, then you kind of restrict your children a little bit more because you see like the damage of that, but also you
So you said your
see the
parents
blessing of
had a
that.
lot of freedom in their youth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I think my parents didn't, and I don't think it's because like I also think like we're all just like building on what we were given, like in
For sure.
like good ways and bad ways. I sorry, like we're just trying to do better than the people before
Yeah.
us in our minds, and even though a lot of times like we don't do better, that's what we try to aim for, and so like
Well,
again, not
hopefully
that it
no
was
one's trying to aim to be a worse
no,
parent.
but some people are just like they weren't parented and they end up like doing the same thing their parents did, but it just happens to be worse.
Yeah.
Because they end up getting into worse situations. But like for my parents, like they weren't like it wasn't that they weren't given the freedom to go hang out with people. It was that just their lifestyle. Like mom grew up on a farm in remote, like
Yeah.
like country in Canada, and dad grew up in the village. And so it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to go and hang out with my friends. I'll be back. Can I go for the weekend? That wasn't really like a thing.
Yeah.
So like for them to, I think, parent me and me to be doing those things, like for them to let me out like every once in a while or half the time, that's like
Mm.
50% more than they ever went out because they never did it.
Yeah.
And now I'm
That's
like,
true.
and now I'm a lot more willing to be like, oh, I like to give my kids that freedom with people they trust. We're talking about this because we're parents and this is what we go through. Because like we're thinking about these things because we know people very close to us that are like no sleepovers.
Yeah.
No, like our kids won't go out. If you want to come over, like that's cool. But then there's also rules like you're not going to share rooms with each other. And I'm like, yo, like sleepovers are like the best thing that ever happened to me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Or like not. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but I mean, they were
They're
so much fun.
I love them.
And maybe all the bad stuff happened after I fell asleep. Like,
No, I don't think so.
well, I was always the first guy to fall asleep. People would be like talking, and I'd be like,
I think like it just really depends on who you grew up with. Like I never had a bad experience. And I was very limited. Like
I do
had
think you need to be careful.
my
obviously.
best friend in elementary school. Her name was Darielle. I haven't spoken to her since I was really young. But my parents didn't know her dad, and her dad had like this horse farm, and she was always telling me, "You should come out for the weekend. We could ride horses all weekend." And I was like, "Oh, I just want to go so badly." And I would always ask my parents, and like, "We don't know him. Like, there's no way you're going out there."
Hmm.
And I was never, ever, ever allowed to go out there. Never once. And like when I was a kid, when you want something really bad, it just feels like the end of the world.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, oh, I can't believe I can't do this. And I did see my parents' point when I was a kid. Like I did understand the logic of it. But at the same time, I just remember just feeling like so upset. Like, and honestly, if I had the option, I would have probably snuck out there if it was a possibility.
You just going out to Darielle's house?
But it wasn't, so that was good. But I was definitely that kind of kid. Like, Darielle gave me my first belly shirt.
Ooh, no wonder your parents didn't let you go to Darielle's house.
Well, and then I, like,
dirty
wore it to,
Darielle.
like, high school, but I had, like, a sweater over it. And I was, like, way too embarrassed that I couldn't, like, I just kept the sweater on all day. Like, I just had, like, this like, complex that I didn't look good in it. And I was like, nah, I just can't do it. I just felt, like, uncomfortable, so I didn't. And it was so funny because I wore it all day. And I had, like, stress that I was wearing. I was just too good of a child. Like, I was like, no, Mom and Dad would be so mad.
Your parents trusted you. But
Yeah.
not around Darielle.
Yeah. Well, she was great until she wasn't, so. Yeah. Well, I had, like, I have good friends in elementary school. Like, they
I
were.
mean, you don't have to name names.
Yeah.
But, like, nor should we. But, like, was there any friends that you had in high school that you were, like, super close friends with? Or, like, you had falling outs with?
Oh, almost everybody. Which is partial. Like, obviously it's 50-50.
I find it's common for a lot of girls to, like, have friends and,
yeah.
like, not stay in contact with those friends. Like, I would say most of the girls that I know, like, they're not friends with people that their husbands are, like spouses of their husbands.
Yeah, like, my
Like, people
best
like,
friends are people I met after high school.
yeah.
And, like, the friends I had in high school, like, I adored them. But we really separated at the end of it. Like, at the end of it, I just felt like I got mistreated by people. I felt betrayed by people. And for me, I'm very quick to be like, oh, if you betray me or I feel like you are not loyal to me, and not like, and I will give years to that. Like, it's not like a moment. I will give years of betrayal. But I came to a point when I was like 18, 17, where I was like, I think I'm done. I don't think this is like improving my life. I don't think it's quality. I don't feel loved by these people. I don't feel like they have my back. And so I didn't necessarily like get rid of them. I kind of just like slowly stopped talking to them because I just felt like it wasn't giving any joy to my life. It was actually just giving a lot of stress. And I think girls in high school can just give a lot of stress to each other. And then you meet people that you actually, I don't know, have something in common with or jive with or have the same priorities. And like, I didn't always have that with my friends in high school. We were just in the same school or in the same youth group and you just are friends. And I think like
you're forced into, not forced, but like you're kind of forced into these relationships. And then once you're like out of your parents' house, out of the roof, out from under the roof, you have the freedom to find your people.
Yeah, and I would be friends with them to this day. I feel like I was betrayed. Like, I have one friend, I won't name names, but, you know, I was such a goody-goody, like, in certain ways. Like, I was very careful of what I did in my life because my dad is a pastor. I didn't want to embarrass him in my hometown. And when I moved out for the first time, one of my best friends, and she is a pathological liar, and this is like a actual like diagnosed thing for her. But she ran around to all my friends telling them that I moved to a major city to become a stripper. And it's something that like I got called by one of my friends and I just kind of laughed about it. But I also remember being like, why? Why is that the rumor?
It's not even a believable story though.
It's not believable, but I told my friends, I said, well, if people want to believe that, like, they're welcome to believe that. And if they believe it, they don't really know me, so I don't give a rip. But it was really...
You would have been a terrible stripper anyways.
I would have been... I have no... like, I don't have good moves, so I don't know where she thought I was going to get that, like, vibe from.
You're so stiff in the hips. Dude.
So true. I got them white dance moves, and that describes it perfectly. So
yeah, like, you can... No, you're a good dancer. Like if you're at a wedding or something, like you can vibe.
I'm like a basic dancer.
You're
but I'm not
basic,
like
but like
stripper quality dancer. Like,
it's not gonna turn you on, you know?
No. Yeah. Nobody's thinking I'm like smooth criminal over here.
Like we're just having fun over here, right?
I'm like what's like that guy that's like just keep it here. What's that dating show?
Oh, isn't that Hitch?
Hitch.
Hey, Hitch.
Yeah.
Keep here.
This is
right, just right here. in the pocket,
Yeah.
right? Or something like that.
I'm like a step above that. That's
Yeah.
about all. Like I can. But yeah, I just remember just kind of going, okay, maybe not. And that, like a lot of my relationships, I felt like went that way. Just like small things, not that extreme, thank goodness. But just small things where I went, maybe not. How about you?
Obviously, I totally disagree with like the concept of strip clubs, but I don't think there is a strip club in Fiji, is there?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Which
like
is
it might,
really,
it must be illegal, or maybe.
Yeah. Must be.
I just think like it's just so common where like in the city where we were living before, like
So gross.
it's like, hey, you want to go to the strip club? I was like, it wasn't that like even after a rugby game, like all the guys would go to the strip club. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's just something like we all do together.
So weird.
It's so like perverted. I just thought it was really, really pervy.
But it is
and I'm
pervy.
glad there isn't in Fiji. I don't know what that. I just really feel like the culture wouldn't allow for it. I feel like it's too small a country.
Oh, thank goodness.
Can you
can't even.
imagine,
No, I can't, and I can't even talk about it. It would
What?
just be.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah.
Charlie.
That would be a relative up there, man.
Yeah.
It's too small of a
like
country.
dancing.
Like, can you imagine?
yeah.
I'm sorry, Fiji's way too closely related. Everybody would be like, "That's my cousin."
Yeah,
It's not okay.
obviously beyond it being like, yeah,
Hey,
wrong and
hey,
perverted.
cuz.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. That is so gross. No.
Yeah, and like I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm too good or like I'm a goody good. It's just never like interested me.
I don't think
And,
that's
like,
a goody good thing. I think that's just like
it just felt like
basic
we felt just really
standards.
pervy to be like, oh yeah, let's go watch like naked chicks with together.
well,
like,
that's
with a bunch
pretty
of your
much
bros.
pornography.
Well, yeah,
live.
but it's just, yeah. Well, it's obviously sinful. It just was like beyond it being like wrong and like something that I don't agree with, just on a lot of levels. It was just
Which
like,
I wouldn't
you guys,
say like
come on.
Fiji has a huge pornography issue online because there's no parameters around it. Nobody's really talking about it. They don't have live pornography like strip clubs, but pornography on phones is a big issue here. And it's a big issue for young people here.
Oh, dude. It's got to be even more than we think.
Oh, it is way worse than you think. And I don't want to dwell on it, but even for us, like, we tell our children, don't go on phones, don't be around that. And luckily in our village, one of the main families that has young people in it, they have a rule during the week they're not allowed to use their phones, which I think is healthy.
Well, no, they get their phones taken away from them.
Yeah, but that's good. And they get them on the weekend, but we're very careful about that because you can't, like, there's not a lot of guidelines.
My village is very small, so
Yeah.
like
which we're
there's
lucky.
kids in 1, 2, 3 houses, just for reference. So like
Yeah.
our house and 2 other houses.
Yeah, it's not a
So,
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
even then, like
Even then, though,
it's
so I can only
rampant.
imagine in a village that had like imagine like living in the city, like in a housing complex or like in a village like. You know, some of those big villages in like Nandronga, like they have
Oh yeah.
they have like one village have like 600 or 1,000 people in it.
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
parents are not
that's a
aware of
town.
like the fact that maybe that's what their kids are doing,
Oh my gosh.
or they don't realize that that's something they should put parameters on. But that's something people have to be really aware of. And there's actually places and apps and online things that you can go to restrict your kids from those kind of websites. There is parental guides that you can put on phones. There is a lot of things that, and it's mostly for your youth that you don't want them into that because it wrecks their sex lives, it wrecks their image of women, and then that actually promotes rape and lots of horrible things towards women because it portrays them in a horrible way. And that's not reality.
Yeah.
It's a fantasy, and that's what it's for.
Yeah, it's not real.
No, it's not real.
Yeah.
And then women get told,
I think beyond like rape and everything, it's just like it damages like what sex was intended for, and that was like between a man and a woman after marriage, and then like you have all these guys running around thinking like they have this like idea of like what sex is, and it's like, dude, it's ironic that you want like porn star sex, but you also want a virgin for a wife.
well,
It's
that's
like
that's the thing.
those two things just don't go hand in hand.
Well, you
And
look
so
at like Christian
it's a
view
broken
of
part
sex,
about the culture.
and lots of Christian men are watching porn, and they're looking at women and going,
No,
Well,
No.
every man pretty much has seen porn before. And so they're looking at women like they should be porn stars. And then women are getting,
Without even being like, oh, I wish that my girl was like a
for
porn star.
sure,
You're just
for
like, oh, this is
sure.
what sex is like,
That's
because you're
what
just
sex
skewed.
is
You're just
like.
skewed.
Even if you haven't had sex, that's
Yeah.
what you think sex is like.
Yeah.
And then women are getting told, like, you should be shamed for being sexual. You should be shamed for showing your body. You should be shamed, shame, shame. And then when you're married, you should be a sexual goddess and so good at sex and enjoy sex. But you cannot go into sex and be shameful and enjoy sex. It's very, like, I've been shamed my whole life about sex. And then to go into sex and be, wow, this is beautiful and this is what
Oh, I
God
see what you're saying.
intended. And the man's like, well, you should be a porn star, like the level of sex, and you're shamed, and he has high expectations. It's not.
They're the opposite.
It's the opposite, and it's not
Right.
what God intended, and it's actually like unrealistic. One person's feeling shame about their naked body, or even being sexual, or anything involved in that, and the other person has high expectations of, like, you should be an amazing sexual being. It is very, it doesn't promote like a good sex life in marriage, and marriage is supposed to actually have sex as like this beautiful thing that draws you together, but it's hard to get into if you both have really skewed expectations of it. And I think, like, we need to do better with men in saying, like, hey, get away from that, that's not what sex is. And with women, not saying, like, don't be sexual, you're making everybody sin, shame on you, but like, honor yourself, and you are so beautiful and worthy, and like, take care of your body, and like, treat yourself as precious, and like, honor yourself and give it as a gift, instead of being like, feel shame. The messages are very mixed within Christianity, like, and people are doing their best, but they're not delivering it well. They're not building people up for success in
Yeah.
that. What do you think?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, I have no idea.
No.
I'm thinking about something else now.
Okay, well, John's moved.
I moved on. No, I'm just thinking about like how we address it with our kids. Like, obviously we have two boys, 1 7, 1 5, and so trying to have helpful conversations for people who are. If you're still listening, thank you for listening. And just thinking about how to like have useful conversations on the podcast about like how we as parents can address these things with our kids, because like I've said it before, like pornography was a struggle of mine when I was a teenager, but my dad never, at least to my recollection, I don't have any memory of him like ever like addressing it with me. I think they tried their best to like set up rules, like the computer was like always out in public, like it was in the living room, right? And so that obviously helped a lot of things. But so like nowadays, like everybody has phones, whether they should or not. Like even if your kids can afford to buy their own phone, like they probably shouldn't until a certain age, just because it's just not healthy. But I think like I said, everybody's trying to build on like what their parents did before them, and things have been changing so quickly. So, and I like saw that my dad like tried to, like he was kind of not grasping at straws. It makes it seem like really hopeless, but like yeah, he was like grasping at straws a bit, like towards like my teenage years, trying to like have some of those conversations. But because we didn't start the conversations early enough, it really is a hard thing to like pick up when your son's like basically creating his own thoughts and coming up with his own ideas of the world, and not, I wasn't as like moldable anymore. And so what's important to me is like to start to have these conversations when my sons are young, and I'm actually, as I'm saying this on the, recording this right now, I'm like, I don't know if I want to talk about this stuff, because like it's really private, but like it's important that like we like share these ideas so that we do know how to like help each other out as parents, because like,
well, and I think like the first thing that starts within like talking to your kids is just about their bodies, and like knowing their own body parts, like the actual names for them, and then being able to talk about what they are and having no shame around that.
Yeah.
And then being able to talk about like respect for the other sex, not in the sense of like their body parts, but I think in the sense of like how you treat each other and how you respect them, and as they get older, that conversation matures with them. And I think it depends on, each kid is different and how into girls they are, how into boys they are.
Yeah.
But I know kids in our town that are having sex as young as 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that's probably not even the youngest.
No.
And I think like, you maybe think it's too early to talk to your kids. It's not. Like they need to have these conversations.
Oh, for sure. Like with our eldest the other day, and again, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should like be talking about this because like it feels like a private conversation, but it's all. I'm like, everybody should be having these conversations.
Okay.
So, even the verbiage is like hard to like get out like on screen, but like obviously, you know what? Where you get the morning wood, right? That's one thing that happens
Okay.
with the guys, right?
Yeah.
We are full mast usually in the morning, right?
Yes.
If your testosterone's on
It's
point.
normal.
It's normal. So I like walk in, it's full mast, all right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, and he just had this like kind of like grin on his face. I was like, did I just walk in on something happening here? And I was like, okay. And I'm like,
You're
hey,
like, oh,
I'm like, oh, okay, this is like really like hitting me, like I have to dress this thing like sooner than I thought, like, all right. And so I'm like, I go up to him like, hey, dude. He's like, hey, like, so you got a boner? He's like, what's that? I'm like, oh, it's like where your penis is like standing up and it's like really hard. And so he's like, yeah, like, all right, does it like feel good when you touch it? And he's like, no, I don't think so. What are you talking about? I'm like, all right, we're not there yet, but I was like,
good.
and
I don't child when
yeah.
he's older, he's gonna listen to this and be like, I hate you, but also
yeah, but like obviously like masturbation is a thing that is actually a very touchy subject. I think it's just the fact that like usually it's a sinful or a thing that's done with like sinful thoughts is what makes it sinful. And like it's hard to have like clean thoughts like until you're actually married, until you're actually with somebody that you can be sexual with in the right way, the way that we believe God intended. And so it's just one of those things that you can just be ignorant of it, but like the fact is like that like everybody's inclined to do it.
Everyone.
And so it's not like guys, not girls. It's like guys and girls.
Yeah.
And it's like, are we going to address the fact that, like it happens? And so like I want to be able to have like these conversations about like erections and masturbation and all this kind of like weird stuff. Like because it's so weird for me because I never talked about it with my dad, and I don't blame him. I'm like, it's not even something I was upset about, but like it's something that I want to talk about with my boys, so that they can like do better than I do with them.
Just so it's open, just so it's not awkward, just so the language is not shameful and uncomfortable. And like
because to me it's like shameful, uncomfortable, and embarrassing to talk about it.
Oh, for me, for
so,
sure.
Like,
I've had to push
my boys
past
are listening to this like 20, 30 years from now, or 10, 20, 30 years from now. It's like, hey, dude, I'm just trying to have this conversation because I'm working through these things, and I want other parents to be able to work through the things with us.
Yeah.
It's not like if this got one view and it helped one person, that'd be good. This is not for the views.
Yeah, and just making sure your kids don't feel shame about if something happens to them or if they have things that they need to discuss. It's not so shame-based that mom and dad are so far away from them that they can't talk about it. I think that's what's important. And I don't think you're going to talk to your parents about a lot of things. You need to have it open so you can if you need to.
Yeah.
And hopefully, like, there's people in your life that you can talk about. But if you don't have shame, like I know for me when I was young, I think in high school or, after I graduated, like sex was always available and pushed or wanted. But I think my mom instilled in me such like high respect for myself that I didn't have a lot of problems saying no to it. That I valued myself so much that I was like, nice try. But like, I think so much of myself that like, it's not worth it for that. And I think like that to me, like as I reflect back, is so valued. And I think like my
because like, I can even like confidence is a big deal. Sorry, I interrupted you.
I'm getting bugs all the way down my shirt. They're just crawling everywhere.
I can take a look.
Okay, we'll just delete that out of there. So many bugs. I just can't even handle it. Sorry.
Yeah, I can say that's what I was gonna say. Like even when we were dating, I was like, you were very strict about boundaries and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just felt
I think
like,
it's pretty typical for the guys to like want to take it further than like, but you would be the one to, like, we can't go down this road. This will lead to something that is not good.
I think my mom just like put in my head, like my mom is such a beautiful woman. And I know that many men have chased her. And I know that my mom said no, to the men that were chasing her. And she really was pushed that on us in the sense of like,
Yeah, why did it work? Yeah.
I think she just instilled in us confidence in the sense of like, you are valued and like your beauty is not something to give away. Your body is not something to bargain with. It's not like a tool to become loved. And I think like
Did you,
I
I've
just
never even. Maybe I shouldn't. We can delete this from the podcast if we need to.
with deleted
But
scenes. Right?
Oh, he's right into my ear.
Yeah, see?
into the
They're going in
old-
down my shirt and in your ear.
Yeah. Any orifice. Was there ever a time where you never felt like, so your mom said don't bargain with your body, but was there ever a time where it was like you're like, oh, I would have sex with this person, but what clicked in?
Yeah,
Because
I
I'm saying, like,
think
there's no shame.
I think
There's no shame for people who have
I think there's
done
lots
it
of
outside of
times
marriage.
that I was like, yeah, I'd have sex with this person.
Yeah.
And then I just went, no. Like I think like
Because as a guy, you're like as like a guy who's like into like porn and like you're just like off the rails. You're just like, someone say yes, and you're like unattractive too.
I think like I just had a lot of value, and I also knew like, I don't know, my relationship with God, even when I was trying to like not have a relationship with God, was very valuable to me. And I just kind of felt like,
What do you mean?
I don't know, like,
Like, so even when you're trying not to have, like, when you like,
yeah, like
you
when
like,
I was like, I don't really want to be a Christian, or like when I was young, like trying to
then you
figure
had
out,
like your rebel stage.
when you're trying to like figure out what you want, not what your parents want.
Yeah.
I always just knew that was really important to me. Like I didn't want to go so far that there was less.
Like you could go a certain way, but you can go so far down that way.
Yeah. And I think for me, I just felt like that was really important to me. And I don't know. I think for you also have to understand, a lot of people cannot hold certain standards like that because they're not so solely focused. I am a very, like, if I have something
Hyper focused.
that is important to me, I am very hyper focused on it.
See, in the world of cars, we have cars. Then we have sports cars. Then we have super cars.
Okay.
And now in the last like 10, 15 years, we have hyper cars.
Oh.
You are like, there's people who are focused. And you're super focused. You are hyper focused.
I am hyper focused. I'm hyper focused on everything. If I am in, I am like 1,000% in. So when you say I over exaggerate, I am not. I'm actually 1,000% committed to certain things.
I don't like it when people go over 100% because it's like a mathematical impossibility. And so when people say 1,000%, it just loses the
Yeah, but when you really want to have
It's
sex,
like, give it 120.
and you say no, I feel like it's not a mathematical, like it's not actually a
What are you talking about?
realistic equation.
What?
I feel like when people want to have sex and then they're like, they actually say no in the moment where they're like, I want to have sex with you. It's not, it doesn't line up to 100%. It takes more than that. That's what I'm saying.
No, but you might think that, but like maths say.
Oh,
it's
are
not
you
possible.
Australian? Did you just say math?
I'm saying it to be funny.
Ew.
Because like that's not how you say math. Yeah. So take some English.
Yeah, I just think that like not everybody can have the certain willpower. I don't know. I always look at,
So general. Not everyone can have this certain
I don't
willpower.
know. It was just something that I prioritized
Okay, so yeah,
in my
okay,
life.
so
And
obviously there's no shame if you've done it. I'm just trying to like bring out of you like what helped you be that person as you're growing up. Because there might be people, a girl listening to this who's like, yeah, feeling the pressure.
I think I also just felt like my mom told me, guys will chase you for it. Every guy that likes you will want that from you. Like, that's normal. And that's all they're going to be asking of you. And you need to see, like until the day they put a ring on it, they're not that into you. They're just using you. And the fact that like someone might use me and just throw me away was not interesting to me.
Like a toilet paper.
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. That's what happens. I just feel like that to me was kind of like, ugh. I don't want to be used and thrown away. And I've been kissed and thrown away, and that hurt. And you know.
You mean somebody kissed you before me?
Oh, well, honey, I dated a lot more before you
Okay.
did.
I don't like that reaction though, you know? If somebody kissed you before me, like, you have no idea how many people I kissed before you.
Well,
Dude.
Kissed a few frogs.
They turned into princes?
No.
Is that what happened?
What?
No.
He had were you a frog? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, dude, I was freaking. What is uglier than a frog?
He was not though. He just has this bad self-image, so it's his own issue.
Yeah, I think the key to virginity for men is just to be fat and ugly.
Oh, and you've heard it from the frog's mouth.
Oh, very funny. Very funny.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, so I'm exaggerating. I just had really bad self-esteem when I was young, and it was just never really was a problem because I was like, dude, no chicks are gonna be into me. Because just for those of you who don't know, like I had lost a lot of weight. I was pushing like 150 some kilos when I was in high school, and I also went to a school that in our graduating class there was like 32 guys and 5 girls.
Yeah.
So the ratio was like way skewed, and so like there was no hope for this guy. And so that's also like a big reason that I was able to keep my virginity. I think I was just growing up in like a small town.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you're just a decent guy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like hopeless for men. You're making men sound like they're so weak that they can't help themselves.
Well, that's what it feels like a lot of times. It's hard.
It does. It's never easy. And I think like
because I just like feel like I don't have the like I think a lot of times people like want to like talk like they have some authority, but it's like, yo, like you're just lucky you never met like a 10 who was into you and wanted to have sex with you. It's like, yeah, actually, because I didn't have any willpower when I was younger. It was just there's no chicks that were into me, and so then it just wasn't on my radar.
Yeah.
And so like, but then like God put me in that situation where I was in that town and like saved me for a woman like you.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I feel like your life was easier than
Oh, dude. Yeah. It was.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Men have it easy. No? No, definitely not.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I would say it's probably same, just different. Honestly.
So general.
Well, it's same, like, I say it's same, different because, like, men are typically the pursuers, but women have to reject a lot. And it's also hard.
Yeah.
Like, women are pursued and asked constantly, and if you are willing, it doesn't matter. Have you ever heard of Butterface?
Everything but her face.
Everything but her face. That's a saying because men are willing to have sex with people that they are not attracted to.
No.
Yeah, there's sayings called double bag her, meaning she's so ugly you should put 2 bags on her face just so you can have sex and not worry about what she looks like.
Yeah,
so
people are perverted.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, it's not easy for women because women are pursued for sex, and if you're willing,
right, yeah.
It's available everywhere, and men have to work harder for sex.
Yeah.
But a lot of women have to work hard not to use sex to be accepted or feel loved.
Yeah.
And so it's very different.
Guys, also the reason like we talk about this stuff is because like I believe that sex was a gift that was given to us by God. So, but just to be enjoyed in like the right time in the right space.
Yeah.
And so like if you're somebody that hasn't had that in those right spaces. Like, this is not like a condemnation or whatever.
No,
like,
not at all.
like I said, I feel like I'm just like lucky that I wasn't given the situation. And so
And
I also, dude, let me finish this. This is so important. Is that, like, I also don't believe that, like, because it was given to us by God, I don't believe that only secular people or only secular podcasts get to talk about sex.
yeah.
Like, it's funny because I feel like a big taboo, like, talking about this stuff, like using these words, and like
And
when
then
you're like double
and then
bagged,
you
it's like
and
that
then
is
you get
something
to
that's
be
said,
like,
but
let's talk about sex, baby.
yeah,
Let's talk about you and me.
like there's things
We
that
get
need
to use those theme songs.
that can be like our intro for this podcast. Yeah, there's just, I feel like there's things that we should be able to talk about, and that is not just totally reserved for darkness. And so that's why I
No,
want to
and
talk
and
about.
God gifted people sex. It's part of His creation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, my parents are pastors, and I was talking to my mom about this, and like, sorry, Mom, if she hears this from her friends, sometimes say, "Oh, your daughter was talking about this in the podcast," but it always has some good relevance, I hope. And I think, like, sex should not be shameful in any way because God created it. So why can't we talk about it? What is shameful in it? It's not shameful. And if you've had sex before marriage, God also forgives us for lying and cheating and all these things that we do, and they are all equivalent in God's eyes, but they have different consequences, and that's
Yeah,
the
sin is
difference.
sin. It's just like on earth, we end up with different consequences, and
Yeah.
God has, or given us things or ways to live our life and rules so that it's good for our flourishing.
So the consequences out of marriage is, like, you can have children, or you can be deeply attached to someone that you are no longer with, and you're with a new person that is
That
your
would have
spouse,
been me.
and you
That
be
would have been me.
attached to the person
Yeah.
that you've had sex with.
Yeah.
And so those are the consequences. It makes your marriage harder. It can make, if you have a child somewhere else with somebody else, that can be also harder. Those are the consequences. Just like lying or cheating, your consequences are that you're not truthful and people might not respect you, or they'll find out, or, everything has a consequence. It doesn't mean that the sin is worse. It just means that sometimes you have to deal with your life choices that are harder. And so when we talk about sex, it's actually not a big deal. Sex is sex and everybody does it.
Nah, not true, but
What?
there's some people that will never have sex.
Okay. Like 99% of the people in the world that are above a certain age have sex.
Yeah.
So it's also very natural. It's very normal. It's just something that biblically that we're instructed to do in a certain way. And it can become more beautiful. And God's given us instruction in life to make us flourish and have the best life ever. When you don't do that, it makes your life harder.
Preach.
Well, it just
You
does.
preach.
But I have horrible thoughts in my head, not heads, every day about people I don't like, or things that I'm just like not nice about. And that's also sinful. So it's not judgmental. That's equivalent. Just when you live in action, some things have harsher consequences.
Yeah.
Nobody's better than other people. I'm not better because I held out. I just had some value instilled in me that I held through. But I was not a beautiful human being all the way through. I said horrible things, like we talked about in the beginning of our podcast. I told someone that they were ugly and that they maybe should get plastic surgery compared to I could diet. That's not nice. That's awful. So nobody's saying that they're better. It's just the fact that, like, just different things are instilled in you as a kid.
Yeah.
So preach. I am a PK, so I've got like a good, I don't have that Fijian preaching.
Give it to me. What is a tradition
Okay.
or memory from our relationship that you cherish the most? And this is a question that you guys can ask each other if you're a person who is dating or married. What is a memory?
We had this one like weekend where we went to Nelson, BC, and we went snowboarding for the weekend. And we were just like crushing like this really fresh powder, and we went to the best like places
Not
for
cocaine.
food.
This is snow.
Snowboarding powder,
Yeah.
little pow pow.
Yeah, we were just crushing the freshest powder. It's like it's for like people have no reference to like snow or like snow
Yeah.
sports. So
And we had good
it was
food.
gnarly.
It's a good time. That was great. Like I just have a good memory of that.
Mm.
And I don't know. I have like a few little like memories like that where I'm like, that was a good time. And I think a lot of that is pre-kids.
Yeah.
Like we had 5 years married where we didn't have kids.
Mm.
And not that our children like wrecked anything.
It's a different stage.
But our children are more of
Well,
like
I think
the
the way
new
that
memories. Like you have more
I'm
memories.
talking about our relationship, not
Exactly.
the kids. Yeah, and so I'm trying to be like, hey, look, it's great for parents to talk about kid stuff, and I think we have done that now, and we can continue to do that. But it's also important for me and you to talk about me and you,
Yeah.
because like one day, like Leaky and Seb will leave, and then it will just be me and you, and so
Yeah.
like it's be like, oh, we enjoyed those like weekends out, like the snowboarding, like doing the random stuff,
Yeah, that was so
going
good.
on adventures.
Yeah, I love that.
Hmm.
I thought that was like just us being like, wow, this is such a good weekend. And also just being jazzed about it. Like something new, something like out of our comfort zone. But we were both like, I remember we were driving through like a snowstorm to get to Roslyn. We went skiing there and then we moved down to Nelson. And it was snowing so much that weekend. Yeah. Roslyn. It's another small town. I hated that ski resort. The ski lifts were so slow.
It was epic.
But it was great.
Yeah.
We had a great weekend. And I think like those kind of things, those moments where we took the time to spend money on experiences over having like stuff.
Yeah.
So good. How about you?
Man.
I stole yours. You're welcome.
Yeah, maybe. I think for me, I mean, there's so many camping ones that I can recall off the top of my head.
Mhm.
We used to go camping a lot out in the bush. That's like what we love to do in Canada because you can actually get remote. In Fiji, like every road has a village or there's a purpose for it, and so
Yeah.
you can't really just go. And there's not a lot of crown land, so it all belongs to different clans and like, or it's freehold or something like that. So there's not really a lot of privacy if there's a road. So it's got to be like, going to Vancouver Island, and like just like traveling across the island. That was epic.
We did that for a week with our friends, and we had a Leaky with us. He was only like 1.5.
Yeah, he was there for that one.
Dude, that kid was a champ. He was in the car for like a week straight and didn't cry. Like maybe cried like twice. Like he was a chill.
He's chilling.
He was a chill baby. He's not as chill now, but he was a chill baby.
Then I'm trying to think of something we did that was like really, really random.
Well, like John and I used to go longboarding together, so the first gift I ever gave him was a longboard.
Yeah.
And John was like instantly good at it, which was annoying to me because it took me so long to get good at it. John is like annoyingly good at most things. And so we'd go longboarding downtown, and then we'd go outside the concert. What was that called? That big like city concert that used to be in Kelowna.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember what the name of it is now. The big like techno rave.
There was like a big techno rave every summer. And
It's like an EDM part.
We'd go like
music
sit outside
festival.
the rave and just watch people like come out in their crazy outfits, or like on high as a kite on whatever drug they were on.
So scary.
And you just like sit there and people watch and just like see the craziness of like the event. And I remember just think it was the funniest, most like crazy thing to go do, just like for like a regular night on the town. We're just like sitting and like longboard downtown and then like watch people walk out of a concert. Sounds really lame.
Yeah.
But it was quite something, like watching all the people come out in their costumes. And like one guy came out, he was so high on drugs, his friend was walking beside him and he was leaning back.
That was so
and like
weird.
walking like this, and his friends like
He
trying
almost
to hold him
possessed
up.
that guy.
Dude, that guy was lit. And we were like, okay. Like it was just a lot of like weirdness coming out of there, and just to see like all types of people on something or experiencing something or whatever's happening was just wild.
Yeah.
And then you longboard home and go to bed and you're like, I'm glad that's not my life. But like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
something interesting.
for one of the things I was just kind of pondering before we came on air was just like how as you grow up, people are always like, wait till you graduate if you're in school, right? Wait till you like pass your last year of exams and you have to like go to university. It's like, okay, now I'm at university and like I'm living on my own. In Canada, I was. And like, okay, well, wait till you get married. Then you get married. And they're like, oh, wait till you have kids. Then you have kids. And it's always just like one thing after the next. And I'm saying this because now, now I think back to like our first apartment together and how it was like our first, it was home, right?
Yeah.
And we were just like, one day we'll get out of here. But we enjoyed life a lot out of that little place. But then
Good.
we're like, okay, then we moved into like the carriage house,
But our
right?
life was way cooler before we moved in the carriage house.
Yeah, like I guess and now I'm in this house that like when my parents moved to Fiji, which they will in like a year and a half or so, like I got to get out of here. And so it's like, man, we have been married for like how many years now?
I think 12. Well, honestly, I
12
don't,
would be maybe we got married in 2012.
oh, so we're going on 13 this
Yeah,
year.
2011.
Ugh,
Yeah.
gross.
And so
Gross because I'm like, ugh, I'm aging. I'm turning 25 next February.
yeah, but also feels like
Oh, 35.
I
Then 25. I wish I was. I'm going to say
25.
I'm turning 25 next year.
It just feels like sometimes I look at people and they feel like, they're like way further ahead than you are. Or like you
Yeah,
look at your parents, you're like, wow, you guys had like, you're like your third house by this time. And obviously like the economic times have changed and whatnot.
for sure.
But, I'm still at a point where like we still need to like go and build our family home. And that's just been never something that's been important to us. We've never prioritized that. We've always prioritized like making sure we would never like if life ended today, I don't think I would really have a what if.
No,
Like, oh, or I should have. Or like if I got like
like
diagnosed with cancer, I wouldn't be like,
zero.
oh, like I wish I would have done that thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what that's worth, and you can't really put like a dollar value on it. And we don't live life just for like the experiences and stuff like that. But I feel like we're called to do what we're doing. It's not just about like get out and see the world and travel and just like experience everything before you hunker down. It's not that. I'm actually a real homebody.
Yeah,
And so,
John doesn't want to travel. Like,
nah,
take me to Thailand. I need some real pad thai.
yeah,
I want to compare my pad thai to their pad thai and then figure out what I'm doing wrong.
nothing. Your pad thai is delicious.
Yeah, it's delicious until you go to Thailand
Yeah,
and
I
then you're
suppose,
like,
yeah. This is
your pad
garbage.
thai sucks.
Actually, I'm just going to say your pad thai is garbage. So that when I try the real stuff, it's like,
Yeah.
I was
Because
telling
me,
the
my
truth the whole
pad thai,
time.
you're like, so good. And then when we go to real Thailand, you're going to be like, step aside, girl. It is what it is.
So, yeah, I feel like we obviously still haven't made it. But like, I wouldn't choose to do it any other way.
Yeah.
And like, like, I guess I'm just saying this because like there might be somebody who's, just got married and like, okay, like after 1 year, dude, it might take you freaking 2 decades. Like we're a decade and a half almost into this marriage thing. And we're still like
This merit, this thing called life.
this thing called life. And we're still trying to figure it out. We're still, you know, every day presents us with like new and unique opportunities, and we don't have the family home, but that's okay. And so if you are listening to this, I suppose, then like do the thing that you need to do to make sure that if something happened, you wouldn't end up with a what if.
Yeah. And if, you go homeless one day, you just find a house and work your way back to stability. It's fine.
Like you did it once. Like you were literally born and you needed your mother's breast or like formula
Yeah.
to stay alive. And so like you can literally
Well, like,
make
think
it
about
back.
when we got married. We were like moved out of our parents' houses. We were working towards like saving up for our wedding. We weren't living with our family. And then also we moved to a whole new city and had like $1,000 in our bank account to find a rental house, which we need like $800 for a deposit. We need to feed ourselves and put gas in our cars and get jobs. And we still ate.
Yeah.
And do you remember that day we were fighting? We were so hungry and we split a sandwich because we were
No.
so hungry. And we were fighting.
Oh, while we were looking for jobs?
Yeah, because we were hangry and we were like,
Couldn't afford anything?
we couldn't afford anything, and we were both having like mental breakdowns because we were both not like finding jobs anywhere, and we're like, we couldn't find a house, we couldn't find jobs, and we were just like freaking out. And then we ate like half a sandwich, and we were both like, life is actually
So much
okay.
better now.
I think I was just hungry.
Yeah.
But I think like that's just how life goes. And if you have to start again, even when you're 35, 40, it's also okay.
Yeah.
And like it is what it is. And, like you can still make a great life. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think it's hard. It's harder in the end to live with like what if than like having failed and like tried to recover.
Yeah. And I think like if you live an average life, of course you're gonna have an average retirement and some plan, but you're bored. You didn't do much. And
Yeah.
I think like if you step out, you're not going to regret. Who cares if you're kind of poor and like living paycheck or government check to check? You still had a great life.
As the great Kevin Hart would say, there's someone out there doing the things that you can do, but will never do simply because they believed in themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And on that note, we
This
should end the
is
podcast.
The Waka Family Podcast. Thank you for joining us. This podcast is sponsored by Waka Media. If you're needing any
They do
videos
such
for
good work.
your small business that puts out, I don't know, reels or photography or anything like that, check out Waka Media.
Videography,
wait.
photography, long form, short form, any form. We got it
I
all.
was going to say wakafarms.com/media is where you'll find all our pricing.
Yep.
We specialize in mini documentaries for NGOs that are doing good in Fiji. We want to share what you're doing in the country, what your message is, and help you get more donors. So check us out online
And corporate.
and corporate.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
We help explain the why behind the what.
anyway. This is Jonathan. I'm Stephanie. Thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time. See ya.
Peace.